Hey everyone, how's it going? Bowser the Healer here, and today we're going to be talking about the changes that happened in Season 2 patch 10.1. There were some blanket changes to health bars and enemy damage that does change the landscape of healing a little bit, and I honestly felt like it did actually impact me a little bit, so I want to go over my experiences with that and share them with you, what I've changed and what I'm doing to deal with it, and some future sight into Season 2 and how things might change going forward. If you have any questions, please head down to the comment section. We're pretty friendly down there. Love to answer anything that I can. And of course, if you like healer content and you like this video, hey, get subscribed. It would mean a ton to me. Now, let's start from the top. The change is that 25% more health on players, but 25% more damage on enemies. This kind of maths out to be that you can take similar amounts of damage that you could before, but there's more healing output that's required. A bunch of values were adjusted for solo content and self heals and whatnot on a lot of the DPS and tanks to make this change make more sense. For us healers, we just have to put in a little more work. I'm going to be completely truthful with all of you. On Mistweaver, I didn't notice it originally. It actually took till I felt it on Preservation, went back to Mistweaver, and then I was like, oh, I am doing more. I do need to heal more. Okay, bet. But Preservation's what messed me up. So I will say I cut off on the wrong foot. I ended up doing a 23 Shadow Moon Burial Ground on Evoker, and I had the wrong trinkets on, so I was 406. So that was a bit of a disaster. We still timed it, so you know it's still good in my book. But that being said, is it a game over sort of situation where it's super hard now? No, I mean the fact that I was able to heal that is, I think, incredible. But it did make me realize I need to go back to my roots. So in my guide, I talk about how staying ahead and making sure you get clean heals is really important. But once you have 420 gear score and you're at the end of season 1, you don't need to be super clean about it. You could just heal people because you have so many resources and tools to heal people up to full that it doesn't really matter anymore. Other than big heal checks and huge healer mechanics, it was just a matter of reacting accordingly and playing smart. But I would get a little lazy and use Spirit Bloom when I absolutely didn't need to use Spirit Bloom, just because I was aware that there wasn't that much more incoming damage and I'd be fine. Now, placed in similar situations, I realized that losing value on Spirit Bloom kind of hurts when there's going to be more incoming damage. Or say I use a Dream Breath in a situation where I probably should have used Spirit Bloom. Now the Spirit Bloom, it might get wasted, so I'll use Temporal Anomaly and Living Flame instead to finish the heals and then hold Spirit Bloom for the next thing. All it's changed really for me is I have to heal more. I have to double check health bars after big healing mechanics to make sure I'm not leaving anyone too high and dry. Now, asking a player to heal a little bit more isn't a hard adjustment, so that's not the part that got me. What got me was massive AoE damage, because that was where I was like, oh, I have to heal like 2 or 3 people up further than I expected. And tanks. Tanks are a little squishy. Now, maybe it was the tanks I played with, but I looked through the data, I looked through their auras to see, like, in details, excuse me, that might sound weird out of context. I looked through their details pages and saw like their uptime in consecration or their uptime with their active mitigation tool, whichever it was. And well, they weren't all perfect tanks, they weren't bad tanks by any means. And some of the more sus pulls, there was this one where the Demon Hunter was fighting that 4-pack right before the first boss of Shadow Moon Burial Grounds. They were just getting slammed. Like, it was actually a little hard to keep them up. It might have actually been the Skitter pull, I can't remember, but it was actually strangely difficult to keep them upright. And normally, you know, you heal them for a little bit and they recover, and then they're sitting okay for a little bit, right? But both the Paladin and the Demon Hunters that I played with struggled, and I played with a Death Knight and they struggled immensely with their own self-healing, and their health bar was just jumping up and down. That key completely bombed because of the tank's health bar being hard to manage, and not even on my end, I think just on their own personal end, managing their defensives and whatnot. So I think things have gotten a touch trickier, but again, maybe I just got nothing but low quality tanks. Biggest advice I can give to preservation players who might experience the same struggles as I was, just don't waste your heal, right? If everyone's missing 30% HP, you don't need to full charge your Spirit Bloom. You can throw a Temporal Anomaly and a Living Flame and then top people off with reversions, right? If you can get everyone to full with a Dream Breath and letting the heal over time do its job, do that. Don't overly panic because the health bar is a little lower than you're used to. If there's no incoming damage, let the heal over times do their jobs. That was what made the difference for me. but I also went one more point in grace period on the talent tree just so I could optimize my flame breath healing. That was actually a major component I was being super lazy about. I just wanted to do flame breath damage, so I would full charge it, and then it was like, oh, well, I need to heal with it too. So I'm back to using level 1 and level 2 charges, especially on these big fort keys, and it went okay. I don't want anyone to be doom and gloomed. Again, remember, I did that 23 at 406. I think we're gonna be fine, but what worries me or concerns me, but also doesn't concern me, is the actual Season 2 dungeons. So on the one hand, gear score is going to go up, we're going to get stronger, maybe we scale ahead of the curve, and healing becomes easier. Or maybe our 2-set bonus with that big Spirit Bloom heal is going to be a difference maker, right? That's going to actually allow us to keep up with that heal difference by having a nice big heal over time effect. Maybe that staggers how often we're using big cooldowns and just makes things a bit smoother. But also, the dungeons themselves, how are they going to scale, right? Our keystone levels going from, like, I'm going to be going from a 23, I believe, to a 13 next week, which means, like, is that going to feel like a 13 this season? Is it going to only be slightly harder, or is it going to be, like, extremely harder? And I don't really know. I didn't get to test the dungeons. We also know that affixes are delivered a little differently. You don't get as many early, so maybe without a seasonal affix and worrying about thundering, it's a little bit easier to handle scrambles, and we're all just doing our part in navigating the dungeon and its various damage profiles, and it's not as hard. And I just don't know until we have it in our hands, which is a bit unfortunate. So my current plan, and I suggest this for everyone, is don't change anything. Right? If you know you can grab a disease dispel for like Brackenhide, or you know a dungeon's going to have a decent amount of curses and you want to grab a curse dispel, yeah, that sort of utility change I think is a good one. But don't try to reinvent the wheel until we know what we're up against, because it could be that this build is perfectly fine all next season and we're kind of rolling with a similar meta to season 1, or it could be that the healing profile has vastly changed and there might be new, better routes for our builds that could better handle the damage profiles. I simply don't know. And I only know 4 of the dungeons, right? I don't know any of the old dungeons outside of, I think, the 2 I've played in leveling before. And I don't think that's a good comparison point. It does make me very interested in how tanks are going to survive, right? What kind of actual threat management can they have before the mobs start hitting too hard? When they run out of cooldowns, are they actually getting flattened, or were my tanks bad? And I'm very curious what to see. I have a couple of very experienced tank friends I hope to do a few keys with this weekend just to see how they're feeling out the update. Only time will tell, but I'm very much looking forward to how season 2 is going to play. And let me know in the comment section, have you been struggling with what I've been struggling with, or am I on my own on this one? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And of course, if you just want to tell me about how you're enjoying season 2 so far, I've been really enjoying the story and the new zone. So I've been pretty happy, but I will see you all very soon. I'm going to I have maybe another video coming out before the season starts, and then I'm going to be busting my butt all of this first Mythic Plus week. I will see you all soon.